I wanted to start with this controversy, is probably putting it mildly, over the strike on a boat allegedly carrying drugs, which was shown to a number of legislators this week, and many of them came out and recoiled in horror at what they had seen. I just wondering if you can start with your perspective on this.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was not one of those lawmakers who saw the video. I think it should be obviously made available to all of us on the Armed Services Committee at a minimum, and at this point probably made public. But I think, look, part of the problem that Secretary Hegseth has been having in this controversy, in the Signalgate controversy, is just an unwillingness to just kind of own up and be transparent. You know, I worked for many secretaries of defense under Democratic administrations, Republican administrations. Stuff happens, right? I mean, stuff you don't want happens. But the buck stops with the secretary. You own up and you say, look, this is what's gone on. Here's the accountability. Let me come and talk to Congress about it, talk to the American people about it. And he seems just allergic to doing that. And it ends up making it a bigger controversy for him anyways. On the boat strike, I mean, I think in general, many of us have been concerned about, us being in an armed conflict. America's in an armed conflict with a list of narco-terrorists that we're not allowed to see, right? Even the Armed Services Committee, they won't provide us the list of groups that we're going after. The legal justification for going after these folks is classified, and even the guys conducting the operations don't get access to it. And then the intel packages, the sort of showing your math part of, going after this boat or this group is not there. And I will tell you, a lot of us are sympathetic to going after these cartels, these drug runners. I said openly, come to me, and we need to be more aggressive and more creative on how we go after these groups. But I was also involved in the operations against and targeting around Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and you show your math. You come up to Congress, you say, this is why we're going after this group, this is what they've done, this is who we're targeting, and this is the intel that's leading to it. So they haven't done the basics there. So I think all we're asking for is some basic oversight.
As you say, you've been involved in these sort of targeting operations before, and some people in the MAGA world have been saying, well, Obama did it. That he killed people from the air. He killed an American citizen, al-Awlaki. Is it the same? How do you make a distinction between that sort of version and what people have seen or actually haven't seen happening in the Caribbean?
Yeah, well, I think, certainly, and it's lots of administration. I mean, the Obama, Bush, long list of American presidents that have authorized targeted operations against terrorists. But the terrorist groups usually have a very clear agenda, stated agenda of targeting Americans, the homeland, our assets abroad, and killing us, right? I mean, Al-Qaeda is, I think, probably the perfect example, but ISIS too, like taking up a whole state lit in Syria and Iraq, and wanting to kill Americans and attack the homeland. So what's different about the drug traffickers, it's not that what they're doing isn't reprehensible. It's are they in active armed conflict with the United States? Are they coming to kill Americans? And then to me, what I think is really important is these ships that we're targeting, are these leaders? Do they have intelligence? Is there something interesting there that's actually going to help us unwind these cartels? Or are they guys who were paid to take a boat full of cocaine, from one place to another? So I just think it's a little bit of a different compare and contrast when you're talking about a group that has attacked the United States like Al-Qaeda, killed American citizens and continues to want to kill American citizens, versus drug cartels that it can be very dangerous because of what they ultimately sell inside the United States, but are not what I would define as someone in active armed conflict with the United States. So it's a little bit of a different apples to oranges sometimes.
Do you feel that Hegseth has his head round that difference, or do you just not know because he won't even talk to you?
I think that there's a long-held desire to go after these drug cartels and narco groups. What they sell, what they bring into the United States, and how they fund their organizations do affect millions of Americans. And so I'm sympathetic to wanting to really step that up. And it was clear they came into this administration like, how are we going to do that? There are about 100 different ways I can think of to be way more aggressive without just the strikes, right? I mean, like I said, I like the intelligence that comes off of these folks. I like to grab the leaders and understand how they communicate and who runs the show and how do they get their weapons and how do they how do they move drugs? So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. But what's clear is in the past, just kind of identifying these things and not doing anything about it also wasn't working for the United States. Donald Trump often has the wrong answer to the right question. Right? He often picks up on the right kernel of thing that we need to address, but his solutions just take us to a very different place. So I think we had to do more against these drug cartels, but just show your math if you think we need to be in an armed conflict like this.
Donald Trump and his questions and his answers, it appears that he is after you as well, rather directly. With Hegseth, you and a group of Democratic lawmakers spoke in a video telling members of the armed forces they don't have to obey legal orders. When you were talking about that, did you have in mind what was going on in the Caribbean?
Yeah, I mean, we made that video, 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, certainly not thinking that the president would go high and right, as we say at the Pentagon, on it like that. But because there was so many people coming to us who were, on active duty, who were recent veterans, family members of service members who were coming to us individually. And I'm saying two things. One, I'm concerned, I'm going to be sent in uniform to an American city, like LA, Chicago, Memphis. And I'm going to be asked to do things I either don't think are legal or I'm not trained for. And that's, what do I do? And then this fall, it really turned and it became a lot of people who were involved in the operations around the Caribbean asking those same things. Hey, I'm not sure. I don't know if this is legal. I don't know if I'd be held accountable later after this administration. I can't get a straight answer about whether this is legal or not. What do you think we should do? So we were hearing that. There was a lot of juju in the system on that for months. And so that's why we made the video, just restating the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And it just, you never know. And it happens in a week when the Epstein files are approved for release and all these things. And so the president wants to talk about something else. But I think the reaction to it tells you more about them than it does about the six of us who made this pretty simple video. The best commentary I heard was from someone saying, if you walk into a crowded bar and someone yells, "Hey, ugly," and you turn around, you're probably ugly, right? And I think that was, to me, their reaction, number one, of calling for us to be arrested, investigated, and then ultimately hung. When the president of the United States threatens you with death, we shouldn't be surprised when people across the country do that and worse. So the threat picture completely changed for all of us. We all have 24/7 security, and we had bomb threats at my house, and my family's been targeted. But then the second shoe to drop was weaponizing the federal government against people who you disagree with, right? So getting the FBI and pushing the FBI to do some sort of inquiry or investigation. Obviously, one of us is now being looked at for a military investigation. So to me, regardless of whether someone agrees with our video or not, I think, do we think it's normal and okay for the president to threaten people with death and weaponize the federal government just when he disagrees with them? And I've had a lot of people, especially back home, say, look, I didn't like that you made that video, or I didn't agree with your video, but you shouldn't be targeted for death because of that.
Have you even heard from the FBI yet?
The FBI reached out. This is all public. The FBI reached out through the Senate and House, legal advisors or legal folks, asking seemingly to start an inquiry. and we're waiting. We're kind of in the back and forth. We're waiting to hear what they're going to do. And, I will wait to see what the next step is. But there's certainly took some action and reached out to us here officially, yes.
And how do you even respond to that? I mean, as you say, presidents threatening people with death is an incredibly crazy thing to happen. What goes on inside your head when that happens?
I think for me, most of us, certainly the 6 of us who did that video, have served in dangerous places. We've felt under threat before. I think the thing that's different is when it's targeting your family or your staff, right? I mean, I signed up for this, and this, but. The second part of it is like, I don't think anyone is proud of our politics right now. And I think the majority of Americans, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, don't think that we should be threatening each other with death and arrest when we disagree with each other. So I'm sort of, I'm all right, but I'm just sad for the country that this is the point we've come to. And it shouldn't be that if you decide to run for office, you should just expect this kind of weaponization of the government. That's not something that I think we want, again, no matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican.